Don't plan for it. Don't wait for it. Just let it happen. It could be a new shirt in the men's store, catnip in your office chair, or 2 cups of good, hot black coffee. Hello and welcome to my Let's Play of Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse. Alright, here we are. We're playing Castlevania 3 instead of Castlevania 2. The Curse of Simon. Wow, I don't even remember the title of that game. Anyways, why am I playing the third game instead of the second game? Very easy. At least for me, I'm much more well-versed in Castlevania 3 than I am in the second game. But much more to the point, Castlevania 2 is a bit different in terms of gameplay instead of the third game. It is non-linear, and you need a guide to really beat that game in an efficient manner. Perhaps in the future I'll be able to play it. Anyways, this is a Castlevania 3. Its music is really good. It's awesome. This is what this track I think is called The Beginnings. And the game's a little bit different in terms of starting off compared to the first Castlevania. In the first Castlevania, you just start immediately at Castlevania's at Count Dracula's castle. In this game, you gotta traverse to get there. Plus, there's other very special things, especially if you've played this game, that makes this journey that much more special. I should point out that Castlevania 3 is a much more larger game that you will see in the future compared to the first Castlevania game. There's good reason for this. This is a 3 megabit ROM cartridge, meaning it has more detail than the first game, it has more stages than the first game, it has more bosses than the first game. Anyways, this first stage, I think it's a pretty good introduction, especially with this little section here with the platforms that you might be able to fall on and fall into, the Medusa heads. The music really gets you pumped up as a player for the adventure that is about to begin. This game's also a prequel. It is set around 200 years before the first Castlevania game. And yeah, I mean, there's not much to talk about in terms of story. I mean, you could factor in the Igarashi's timeline for how everything else happens, but yeah, I'm just gonna keep it as it was originally intended, which was a simple good versus bad story, just like the first game. The core gameplay hasn't really been changed, except for some very, very important things that you'll see later on in the game, which I do not want to spoil, in case anyone hasn't played this game. It is pretty old, and if you don't know anything about what I'm referring to, yeah. Sorry, I feel a bit sleepy right now. I'm not really there, but that's fine. We're gonna get through this together, as the army would say, right? We're gonna get through this together. That's fine. That's not what they say. Whatever. I don't care. Wow. You know. This is really funny. You know, commentating video games. Well, before we get to that, let's talk about this first boss. He is the Skull Knight? Skull Knight? I don't know. Berserk reference? I don't know. He's pretty easy. Just use holy water. Just like the first game. Though holy water is not going to be as important as it was in the first game, but it is still very prevalent and powerful. Here's one of the cool new ideas that Castlevania 3 was able to implement. Diverging paths. You go into specific directions to do a specific playthrough, which is pretty unique, but also adds a lot of replay value towards the third game in general. The third game's already much longer than the first game, and then when you're able to have different branching paths, wow, that makes it more fun, right? More of an adventure. Anyways, we're in the clock tower. This level is pretty unique as it introduces the idea of stages being at a vertical level. There's another unique thing there that you can see, the gear that's rotating. You'll see later on in the playthrough, more like later on in the level, unless I already jumped because I wasn't really looking. That was pretty revolutionary. A moving object that you're able to jump from path to path. And rotating gears, at least in the... rotating gears in general in the Castlevania games become a mainstay. So that's pretty cool. It's a minor detail, but I think it's pretty cool. Let's talk a little bit about the creator of the first three Castlevania games again, Hitoshi Akamatsu. If you saw the first playthrough, and if you didn't, that's fine. He was a very huge fan of films. And when he set out to create a game, he wanted the game to be cinematic in nature. Like you're watching a film. Not only in the gameplay and in the visual design, but also in the music. Now, I don't know if it gives me a film quality per se, but it is certainly cinematic. Castlevania is one of those franchises where you look at images or you play some of the games, and then some images just pop up, something that's iconic, and you're like, yeah, I remember that. That's Castlevania, of course. Yeah, that's good stuff right there. There's gonna be a lot more Medusa heads later on too. But strangely enough, I don't find them as aggressive as the first game. I don't know. I think the AI is practically the same. But, I don't know, they just weren't that bothersome. Here's a rotating gear that I was mentioning. Really wish I understood how they developed that. That's pretty interesting if you think about it. Pretty advanced for the Nintendo system too. Oh, speaking of Nintendo, particularly the console itself, this is not the American version that was released in America. This is actually the Japanese version of Castlevania 3. I think it's called Akamaju Densetsu. Now, you may be wondering, why am I playing the Japanese versions compared to the American version? Well, there's two main reasons. The music you're hearing, it's a more enhanced version of Castlevania 3. And also, the gameplay is a lot more easier than the first game. However, and this is a huge asterisk, however, it's Castlevania. It's gonna be really hard, yeah. Like, come on. Anyway, we're on to our next boss here. Grant Dynasty. who is a character that is being possessed currently, and you must fight him and relieve that possessive demon that's inside him. Any tips I have for Grant? Well, I like to stay at the bottom right corner so that he's able to fall in place, and I'll be able to whip him or throw daggers a couple of times. But the early stages of Castlevania 3, the bosses aren't particularly difficult. You could just sort of wing it. Wow, wow. However, later stages, you're gonna need to develop a strategy of some sort. Turn into a ghost, huh? Sure. I'll take you, Grant. Alright, thank you for watching the first part.